Hello and welcome to IUL with Jarrell. Today we're going to be going over some of the common misconceptions that we constantly come across when dealing with the Index Universal Life. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my whiteboard. You'll see here we'll be discussing about fees and cost of insurance are so high that it just eats up all the cash value. We're going to be talking about you don't get both the death benefit and the cash. The life insurance company keeps your cash when you die. And then the good old you pay to borrow your own money. All three of these are going to take a little bit of basic understanding to understand how they work and why these are wrong. So one of the first things that I like to talk about is understanding how we can keep those fees and cost of insurance low by understanding what I refer to as net risk. So in an insurance contract, there's three things to be aware of. There's your cash, there's your net risk to the insurance company, and then there's what the IRS refers to as net death benefit. Now, let's say we want to put X amount of money into a policy. To do so, the IRS comes back and says it's going to require a $500,000 death benefit. Well, day one, we don't really have any cash in. So if we pass away, that financial burden falls upon the insurance company. We're physically going to pay them for $500,000 of insurance. So again, if we die, they pay that out. Now, the beautiful part is the IRS actually allows us to count our cash as a portion of that death benefit. So next year, whether we've injected 100,000 or it's grown to 100,000, the IRS requires a $500,000 death benefit. Now we're only paying for $400,000 of insurance. See, one of the downsides or upsides, however you want to look at it, to an index universal life insurance is the fact that it's on an annual renewable term chassis. What this means is your cost of insurance is for your current age. So as we get older, the cost of insurance goes up. It's very simple. More 80-year-olds die than 70 and more 70-year-olds die than 60. So as we get older, our cost of insurance goes up. So how do we mitigate this? It's simple. We buy less insurance over time. When our goal is to maximize our cash value, we really want to get the smallest amount of death benefit forced by the IRS guidelines. So let's say now that our cash has grown to $400,000, IRS still requires that $500,000 death benefit. So now we're only paying the insurance company for $100,000 of insurance. So yes, as we get older, our cost of insurance goes up, but we are doing what? We're buying less insurance, which reduces our cost. And this is one of the biggest things that people get wrong in the industry. Now, in a perfect world, if we had $500,000, we would have no risk to the insurance company and we'd be paid up. However, the IRS does not like this. They're always going to force something referred to as a corridor. What that breaks down to be, for the most part, is approximately about 10%. So if we have $500,000 of cash, for it to still be an insurance contract with tax preferential treatment, we need to have at least $50,000 of net risk to the insurance carrier. Therefore, our net death benefit does jump up to $550. But it's important to understand, are we paying for $550? No, we're only paying for $50,000. So as we get older, the cost gets reduced. You guys will see that in this particular illustration. So when we look here, it's important to understand this is a 48-year-old. This client is putting in $100,000 of cash. He's going to put that in over 5 years to adhere to the tax guidelines. So we're going to put in $21,282 for 4 years, and in the 5th year, we put in $14,874. You guys are going to see the cost of insurance does what? It starts to go up. And then all of a sudden it comes down and then back up and then back down. Why is that? It's because in the 8th year, since we're no longer funding, the IRS allows us to drop that death benefit. Look here as the death benefit goes from $376 down to $272, all the way down to $178. What's important to understand, if our net death benefit, the IRS forces us to have $178, remember they allow us to count our cash as a portion of that death benefit. So now $118,000 of that is our cash. So we're physically only paying for approximately $60,000 of insurance. And this is how we're able to lower those fees. So when people physically say that the death benefit gets so high, let's take a look at that. Folks, at 88 years old, when these insurance policies supposedly implode upon themselves, what is the total cost of insurance for an 88-year-old? That's right, 2073. Why is that? It's because even though the IRS forces us to have $854,000 in death benefit due to that corridor, what is our cash? That's right. So again, you're only paying for approximately $40,000 of insurance. So for $40,000 of insurance on an 88-year-old, you are paying 2073. But I challenge you, go try to find an insurance policy on an 88-year-old for $40,000 and let's see if it's only $2,073. Good luck with that one. Now, something interesting does happen at the age of 96. You will notice that this is when the corridor finally disappears. We have just as much money in cash as we do as our net death benefit. Therefore, our cost of insurance is zero. So it's very important to understand net risk. When we look at these policies at like age 78, our total cost of insurance is only $279. We add in the expense fee as well of $120. We add both of those up, that comes out to be about $400. How many years would it take us to completely run out of our cash value at that point? Exactly, a couple lifetimes. So hopefully this helps you guys understand when people talk about the fees and cost of insurance are so high, it just eats up the cash value. It does matter on structure and funding. It has to be designed properly. Another thing is they say that you don't get both the death benefit and the cash. The life insurance company keeps your cash when you die. Well, let's take a look at that. Is that true? At 78 years old, are we paying for $465,000? No, we're only paying for about $22,000 of insurance, which is reflected in the COI. So therefore, we do get both our cash plus the amount of insurance that we're physically paying for. So to say that you don't get both is factually incorrect. You do, in fact, get both the cash value and the death benefit. So I hope this clears that up as well. The last one I want to talk about is they say you have to pay to borrow your own money. So let's talk about how loans work. Now, in most accounts, if you have $100,000 and we pull that $100,000 out, what do we have left? That's right, nothing. So in an insurance contract, there's three ways to get your money. There's the good way, the bad way, and the sad way. The sad way has the best return on investment. We just don't recommend it. That's to die. So that one's out. We're not going to do that one. The second one is what we refer to as the bad way, which is a withdrawal. We go to the insurance company. We say, hey, Mr. Insurance Company, I got $100,000. I'd like to pull my money out. Now, what are we left with? Exactly, zero. The third way is we utilize the art of leverage. So we go to the insurance company and we tell them, hey, I have $100,000. I'd like to take $100,000 out, but I really don't want to take my money. Can I borrow your money instead? Now we're going to leverage the life insurance company's money, but guess what? Nothing is free in life. So what's going to happen is this life insurance company is going to charge us 5% to borrow their money or $5,000. Now, because we're borrowing their money, what happens is our money is still tied to that index. Now, if that index performs, let's say at 10%, we would get credited $10,000. We'd pay them their cut of $5,000. Therefore, we created a $5,000 arbitrage-like spread on our money that's not even there. Hopefully, we're smart. We took that $100,000 out. We're going to buy an appreciating asset. Now, just like this can work for you, it can work against you. Remember, zero's the hero. So what happens if we pick the wrong crediting allocation? All of a sudden, we earn zero as the hero. Now, quickly, that positive 5,000 turns into a negative 5,000. Now, it's very important to understand if you do not pay this $5,000, you will lapse your policy. That means no more death benefit, no more cash value, and it becomes a taxable event. So how do we prevent this? The simplest way is to just don't over leverage. For example, if we have $100,000 in cash and we only take 80%, which is 80,000, we're left with how much? 20,000. Now, since we're only borrowing 80,000, we're only paying $4,000 in interest. So now, what happens if we don't pay that 4,000? Well, guess what? They come over here and they pull it from your surrender value. So now, you're left with $16,000. What this does, it gives you the ability to withstand 3 to 4 negative years in a row. That has only happened one time in US history, and that was during the Great Depression. We've had 2 other periods where the market has crashed for 3 years in a row. So, simplest way to avoid that is just simply do not over leverage. Now, what we see too often is people take their $100,000 and they go and they put it into a house. Now, let's say this house earns 10% on average. What we do is we show our clients how if they put it into the cash value and they grow that money, and let's say their money's grown at approximately 6 to 12%, they can borrow that money back out at 5% to go buy that same very house. Now, what happens is they're earning about a 1 to 7% spread. Meanwhile, they're still gaining the 10. So while the average investor is getting 10%, they're getting 11 to 17 by just simply allowing their dollar to work for them twice. So hopefully this clears up the whole fact that you got to pay to borrow your own money. Of course not. We're never borrowing our own money. We're actually using the insurance company's money. It works very similar to like a home equity line of credit. If you take the money out of your house, does this stop the appreciation of the house? No. The house continues to go up in value. Very similar to that of a life insurance contract when it's properly funded and properly structured. Now, I say when properly funded and properly structured because it is important. So what it used to be all the way up to 2020, it used to be that if you had $10, the IRS said you're allowed to put $7 towards your cash, but $3 has to go towards your cost of insurance. So something amazing happened, and that was the 7702 tax law got changed January 1st, 2021. What they said now is if you have $10, we'll allow you to put $9 towards your cash and only $1 towards your cost of insurance. So now we've got $9 earning instead of 7. Which one do you think grows better, the 9 or the 7? Now, the downside is we as insurance took a pay cut. We don't get paid on 3, we only get paid on 1. So what happened was a lot of agents, and this is why you see a lot of stuff talked about the IUL as a scam, et cetera, stuff like that. It's because what's happening is these agents are saying, hey, Mr. and Mr. Smith, you got $10. Let's go ahead and protect your family. So let's put $5 towards the cash and $5 towards your cost of insurance. Well, if your goal is cash accumulation, what's happening now is you're only earning interest on 5 instead of 9. That agent is now getting commissioned on 5 instead of 1. Now, me personally, I ran over 400 policy audits. Out of those 400, I've come across 12 done the correct way to maximize the cash growth. So if you or anybody you know has a cash value life insurance policy, it's very important to have them get it audited because, again, there's a 97% chance that their policy is not done the correct way. So with that being said, feel free to reach out if you'd like to get a free policy audit. Costs nothing. We just want to make sure that you're in the best hands. So hopefully this video cleared up a lot of those misconceptions of an IUL. If you like this type of information or you want to get a free policy audit, go ahead and feel free to reach out. Also, make sure you guys like the video as well as subscribe for future videos. Thanks and have a good one.